Hi everyone, Drizzerey here, and welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to be romancing Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3. Quick disclaimer, this is going to be just romancing him in Act 1. I might do a Part 2 for Act 2 and Act 3, but for the intensive purposes, the important parts are all in Act 1. And so long as you keep his approval up in Act 2, you should be fine. And it's not that hard. You don't need to go the extra mile. You can finish his romance in Act 1 by the time you get to Karlach, and you don't have to go the extra mile or anything. Now, this is going to contain a lot of spoilers, and I'm going to go over a lot of items regarding Astarion that are not necessarily, known in Act 1. And originally, this was going to have a lot of bells and whistles and all that, and I actually recorded a lot of this thinking I was going to make a really nice video, but after all the recording was said and done, this playthrough took me 4 hours, and honestly, it doesn't actually take 4 hours, maybe an hour or two tops, but I was trying to go through a lot of different options. And the main thing here is that no matter what your alignment, no matter the difficulty, if you're Dirge or Tav, this will work. And I don't know about the origin characters. I might do another playthrough of that. The important part here that I recorded is that you need to grab Shart. Now, she's going to be important before you grab Astarion for some approval. Some quick early approval. The other thing to note is you're going to need to do a lot of long rests, and you can do long rests without using food. Those are called partial rests, and these are going to be important. The other thing to note that is important with romancing Astarion is that you have to understand his motivation and his character. He just got released from 200 years of torture and torment. He wasn't necessarily a good person before he was turned into a vampire. And he's mainly out for himself. He's not necessarily evil. He's just very, very neutral. And you need to play into that. You don't have to be an evil person to romance Astarion. So yeah, right here, after getting off the Nautiloid, you want to grab Shart. Remember, if you go to camp or if you do a rest before grabbing Shart, she won't be available until the Grove. So then we go through here, I go up the cliff, and then we immediately go to Astarion. And what I like to do is, if you talk to Lae'zel on the Nautiloid and ask her why you thought you were a thrall, you get the dialogue option to inform Astarion what happens with the worms. And he's kind of upset. And I always choose this dialogue because I always find it very revealing for his character, and I like it. So we go with that, and then we tell him, we just kind of ignore that he wants to control the tadpole, not get rid of it, and then you're going to do a rest. Now you can see here he has a exclamation mark. If you grabbed Gale on the way...
So we're resting here. Turning in for the night.
Now, if you grabbed Gale is also going to have an exclamation point. Make sure you talk to Astarion first. If you do not, you will lose out on this dialogue, and he will just be pouty because you didn't talk to him first. And this dialogue is very important.
I suppose. I'm not really sure what I expected, really. This is all a little new. The night normally means bustling streets, bursting tavern.
The other thing that you need to keep in mind when you're talking to Astarion is you gotta be nicer to him. Be a little bit more understanding with him. He's gonna have some tendencies that may irk you the wrong way, but being nice to him goes a long way.
I need some time to think things through, to process this. You rest. I'll keep watch.
And then it's very important that you tell him thank you. I'll sleep better for that. You get 5 approval right off the bat for that.
The pleasure is all mine. Sweet dreams.
And so, and this is why Shart's important. You're going to go over and you're going to talk to Shart, and it's important that you choose these dialogue options. You're going to want to be We were just discussing our next steps.
I see. I'd be careful with Astarion.
And then I wasn't confiding anyone, I was just talking. This one's important to open up the dialogue option that would give you 2 approval with Astarion.
Reliable. I think you know how important it is that we find someone who can cure us. Best if we focus on that.
So you're going to do number 3. Let's not abandon all caution. This is unfamiliar territory.
Caution is a luxury we don't have.
Now, this does miss out on approval with Shart, as she is very hard focused. The next thing that is also important with romancing Astarion is you're going to want to talk to him often, not always when he has an exclamation point, because sometimes the important dialogue options are not available unless you do that. Next, we need to go grab Gale. He's actually going to be important for some more Astarion approval, surprisingly enough. And then we're going to go grab Lyselle.
Enough gawking. Get
You're
me
going to get rid of the tieflings without releasing her, and then you're going to make her say please.
Never.
This gets both Shart and Astarion approval, and now we're on our way over to the crypt. Again, this is going to be important because we have some fights, and fighting is going to make Astarion want to feed. So this is going to trigger that that scene where he wants to feed off of you. And since we've already got early experience, he's going to trust you enough that you're not going to kill him if he fucks up. So yeah, we want to do combat real quick. And we're going to want to do another rest after we've gotten rid of them. And again, you're going to want to just talk to Astarion fairly constantly, whether or not he has something to say. Sometimes you'll just get funny dialogue, sometimes not. And the way that I handle the crypt is that I let Astarion initiate. I have everybody sneaking, and then I will break everyone apart, and I will just have Astarion start the combat for the surprise round. And this will help a lot, especially in higher difficulties. Another thing to note, do not drop the thing in the hole at the beginning, because then all of these guys will not be in here. They will be out there waiting for you, and it's so much harder. In this fight, you're going to want to go after the barbarian first. He hits the hardest, and then either that first guy in the middle or the archer off to the left. And yeah, the mage isn't that big of a deal this early on. And then you go and open it, and we're going to do a rest. And then we're going to talk to Gale. As you can see, he has an exclamation point, and he's got a little copy of himself. He's looking at himself. Being Gale.
Be with you in a moment.
So what you're going to do is you're going to want to get a lecture from Gale. And so you just want to prompt him to talk to you about literally everything he knows about Ceramorphosis. And so you're just going to make him do that. And then when he asks you, or when he finishes, you're just going to tell him what you learned, and the other dialogue options don't matter. Then you're going to immediately go talk to Astarion.
I saw you getting a lecture from our magical friend. I have to say, I thought you'd look worse, but no. Not a tentacle to be seen.
And so you're just going to... These are the ones I pick all the time. I could say the same about you, or I'm hoping to keep it that way. And then he's going to basically go over his sadistic side. He's suggesting that he needs to kill you if he sees any amount of change.
I am open to suggestions.
And then he's going to ask
poison,
you what you would
strangulation,
prefer.
whatever you'd prefer.
Now, you're going to want to pick either poison or a knife, an actual option to die. And this will get you some more approval with him.
A classic. One good thrust to the heart and you're gone. We need a good blade, of course. Don't want to waste time hacking and prodding with a dinner knife. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is all a worst-case scenario, obviously.
And then I usually ask him how I should kill him. And, you know, this is his form of flirting, so figure I might as well ask. The other thing to note is that he does approve when you keep him in mind or ask him. So yeah, we're going to do another partial rest. I am on honor mode to show that this does work on honor mode. So I'm not wasting the food. And then you'll see him creep off. He has gone to go kill a boar. Not that it's going to matter by the time we find it. I go ahead and put some pots over these traps. Have him disarm the trap on the coffin. I think if you click that button there, it'll disarm all the traps. And I grab all the loot. I like to get this box for organizing purposes at camp. I try so hard to resist organizing my bags, by the way. And it was painful. Anyway, since I forgot to grab all the stuff on this beach because I went straight for Astarion after grabbing Shadowheart, I go back over here and we go and fight the Intellect Devourers. Again, I have Astarion initiate by himself, and then I have everybody come in one at a time to try to maximize the damage before they connect. And again, we want fights. We want him to want to eat so that he'll want to eat us. And so, yeah, I meant to pick up that Nautiloid tank. Again, I don't know why, because I'm not going far in this playthrough. I'm literally just doing this to show you real quick how to do that. And then we go back in here. I'm going to disarm all of the scribes before handling it. I'm going to get this because we do want inspiration. And so long as you pass these checks, then you get inspiration. The last check that you can't roll for is for Scroll of Revivify. I break everyone apart. I leave Astarion hidden over in the corner. And then I have everyone close to one of the skeletons. Just to, again, maximize the damage and all that. And once it's my turn, I make Astarion act on his scribe to kill his scribe. And then I basically break everything down until they're all dead. This isn't a hard fight, and that's why I don't want to do a long rest until after it, because it can hurt, but you shouldn't need it. And then anyway, we got withers here. We got another fight in. We got some more booty, and then we're going to go out this way because it's the quickest way, and then there's some more stuff to grab along the way. And then once I've grabbed these 2 chests, I'm going to go ahead and do an actual long rest with food. And while he doesn't have anything to say necessarily,
Well, hello.
you can tell that his disposition is good towards you with how he reacts to you talking to him. That hello, happy to see you thing. Anyway, we do a long rest, and voila, we have a hungry vampire.
Dreams and nightmares. Maybe you break your meditation because you know something is wrong. Or maybe you just get lucky.
Shit.
So, again, to note, you don't want to pick any of the violent options. You want to be understanding. You want to allow him to feed. You want to show him that you trust him. This is a ton of approval, and it does matter which option you choose. You want to say you believe him, and then you want to click number 1 for fine, but not a drop more. And then this is where a lot of people mess up. You want to do the first option to push him off. He loses respect and approval points if you don't do it this way. If you let him feed, he starts going into a frenzy. And when he goes into a frenzy, he doesn't want to let go of the food. So when you finally do get him to let go, he doesn't approve as much. And then you basically have lost the approval that you gained for your second option of letting him feed you. And then, of course, if you let him kill you, he's just going to lose more respect for you. So after he is fed, you're going to want to talk to him immediately and talk to him about being a vampire spawn. Again, this is going to open up a lot more dialogue options, and this is why you want to talk to him constantly. Because the more you ask about him and the more you talk to him, the more dialogue options are going to be open later, and it will help you. Now, for more approval, you want to pick the last one. Gale's going to disapprove on that if you don't mind too terribly much that he disapproves, but you get more Astarion approval. So you're going to want to just tell everybody you don't like it, leave. Astarion approves because he likes that you are a ride or die for him. So anyway, we're going to do this fight. We already got that. Now we are just going to be farming XP, and the way that we're going to get more Astarion approval, there's a bunch of different ways to get his approval in camp, but they are not necessary. I want to reiterate, they are not necessary. Also, the amount of disapprovals that you get, I want to let you all know that while there is a lot of options for disapproval here, they are all -1. Now, if that bothers you, you can have him wait outside while you talk to Zevlor. Now, there is an option where you could just tell Zevlor, no, I've got my own problems, and that'll give you 2 Astarion approval if you want to keep Astarion with you. If you want to tell Zevlor and get this quest started now, you can have Astarion wait outside. And this is going to be true for all of the disapproval options. This just makes it so that you don't slow down. So I would break him away and have him wait outside. Maybe have him finish looting for you. I'm going to go ahead and level up. And then I'm going to have him steal Arden stuff. This is also why I kind of punch Arden, or make sure he gets punched in the beginning, because I can steal his stuff, get the quest for the night song, and then I can also just steal the stuff in the grove that was theirs, because nobody's there to care that you're taking it. And so anyway, the other options that are going to give Astarion minus approval, there's gonna be one for the kids with the thieving. You don't want him around if you're going to be go easy on Sylphie when she steals from you. And honestly, I wouldn't even bother with those kids unless you were on tactician or lower, because those checks are ridiculous, and a lot of times you're going to get your stuff stolen, and that's just annoying. Again, we're just talking to see if he's got anything, and he does. He's got a lot of dialogue option. Again, you want to talk to him as much as possible to get all of these dialogue options opened up. And once you do that, you're going to continue on. He does like it when you're mean to Zoru for Lae'zel. So there is quite a bit of approval to go for if you want to be let Lae'zel torment Zoru. If you don't, he doesn't disapprove, you just miss out on a lot of approval. And of course a fun little interaction.
Oh, you're not going to eviscerate him? I was hoping for a show.
Cool your blood. I'll indulge you soon enough.
And then he also gets approval for when you talk to Ethel and you tell her everything.
If it isn't the talk of the camp.
So there's no harm in it other than you're going to get disapproval from Shadowheart. And again, it's not much, but it is to note. It is something to note, especially when you have Lae'zel in your party and you just tormented Zoru.
Why, she sounds positively demented. I love it. Let's tell her everything.
So you go ahead and you just tell her everything. You get some more approval. I disengaged to go talk to this because while he does like the sound of Arabella stealing the idol, he does not approve of you going to help her. So I disengaged to go talk to the parents and then re-engage him after that. And then I bring him along with me because there's not really a whole lot. The other option that he doesn't really care for is if you go to Nettie and you're not planning on killing Nettie, then if you just want to take the poison, he disapproves of that as well. He doesn't like the idea that you're willing to just die for what he considers no reason. So don't let him in with you when you're talking to Nutty, but you can bring him in here to talk with Kaga. One thing to note, if you are going to expose Kaga before grabbing Halsin, then you have to note that while Astarion likes it when you fight Kaga, he dislikes it when you try to convince Kaga that the shadows are not the answer. So again, it's just something to note. It's just -1 disapproval. There's very few instances where he will disapprove that it'll actually matter. So again, this is another part right here where I just disengage him, make him stay away, and then I'm gonna go in here with Shadowheart and Lae'zel because they both appreciate that I will take the poison for the good of everyone. And then I go and grab my trinkets because Gale's gonna get hungry eventually, and we're gonna do a rest.
It's quite a sight. The stars, I mean. I could take or leave
once
your
again,
trim.
this one I find kind of odd because we've already found out that he's a vampire, and this scene, a lot of people seem to be weirded out by. He is just hungry and not thinking clearly, and usually you get this scene before you find out he's a vampire. When you find out he's a vampire, it's just kind of weird because he doesn't seem to be comfortable
What can
telling
I
you. It's
do
like,
for
oh
you,
yeah, I'm
my
just
friend?
hungry. I'll be back.
My sweet, there is nothing I'd like
And
more.
while this doesn't give you approval per se, I always let him feed off me because I got the trinket of Sylvanas, so I can just undo the blood loss, and he gets a buff every day. And since I use him constantly, like, he is like my #1 utility guy. So we're going to go up here. We've done enough rest and enough stuff that Raphael should show up here. He does show up in a bunch of random places, but this is going to be some more Astarion approval that we can grab real quick. The main thing to note is that you are mad if you think I'm going to take a deal with the devil. So you could do pretty much anything else, just tell Raphael off.
I could fix it all. Like
This
that.
is the important part. You're mad if you think I'll take a deal with the devil. Everybody except for Gale approves of this.
And what is madness?
And then there's going to
but
be
a
some more
denial of
after your
reality?
talk with Raphael. Once he brings you back, everyone's going to want to talk to you. So go ahead and talk to everybody, and I start with Astarion.
Now there's a bloody devil trailing after us.
You're basically going to want to tell him that we're not his playthings. We'll show him that.
Creatures like them don't play games. Unless they know they can win.
Which is #1 right here. That'll get you some more approval.
Maybe. But he's not the only one spinning a web for us.
And then once we've talked to everybody else, I like to go over here because this is going to be another moment of Astarion approval. Basically, you're going to want to use the tadpole. And you can do this later to a goblin. But to do it real quick, we're going to do it to these guys. So we just, they know that I have a tadpole. I usually fight them. You don't have to fight them. You just have to end it. But I usually fight them because, yay, owlbear.
So the tadpole gives us the ability to
So
influence
once you
others.
have completed this interaction, whether they leave or you kill them, what you want to do is you want to agree with Astarion.
I suppose
Now, I
you want to
accidentally
hear
clicked
about
on him,
Cazador.
but we have more dialogue options. I apparently have not been talking to him enough. But he had mentioned Cazador after the thing with the devil, so this dialogue popped up.
Thank you. But this isn't about sympathy. It's about knowing what we might be up against. The Mind Flayers aren't the only monsters out there. And they might not be the only ones hunting us. All I'm asking is that you keep your eyes open and watch out for anything.
You just let him
lurking in
know,
the
#1,
shadows.
I've watched your back, don't worry. I think he still gets approval
What
if you say,
more
you
could
watch
I
my back, I
ask?
watch yours, but I
Now, is that
believe
all?
the best response is, I will watch your back, don't worry. And then again, I just go through all of the dialogue options just to open up more, because the Cazador one wasn't available until he mentioned Cazador. I grab my dog, I go kill this bugbear, and then I go over here to the famed boinking of the...
Wait, don't interrupt them. Let me do it. They sound
So
disgusting.
what you want to do is let him open the door. I usually break everyone else away so that I always get his interaction, because he doesn't always proc. So to ensure that he procs and I get that approval, I break off the other two in my party and just have him with me, because again, his thing doesn't always proc. And in that fight, you want to take down Bertha. She hits the hardest, and she is the biggest problem. So now we are going across the bridge. I'm not going to go over the hyenas. I'm going to go under the bridge over here to the left of it, grab all this stuff, and I'm going to grab the thief ring, which is very important for Astarion's build. And then I'm going to go get Karlach. And this is going to be some more Astarion approval.
You want to just team up with some blood-stained killer?
He actually
Because
likes
I'm
Karlach
fine with that.
quite a bit. So when you side with Karlach and tell Will off for thinking that she's a devil, he really likes that. In fact, pretty much everyone in camp likes that.
Would you listen to sense? This doesn't have to end badly for either of us. You know monsters better than anyone. Can't you look in my eyes and see I'm not a
So we
devil?
go and talk to him after that interaction.
Nothing like a little camp drama to spice up the
And
evening.
sometimes you need to talk to them more than once.
Darling,
And now
I
we
was
get
just
the
thinking
reward.
about you.
So that is another thing that I forgot to mention that you need to do, is that you sometimes need to talk to the characters more than once. Especially when they have triggered dialogue that doesn't always coincide with each other. Basically, what happens is they have multiple dialogue options, and they will pick the most recently procced one. So if you, say, just had the altercation with Karlach and Will, he's going to proc the dialogue option where he talks about Will and Karlach fighting. And that's it. But if you talk to him again and he had this one lined up, then he's also going to talk about this, which is he wants to boink you. Now, this is the important part. This is going to be near the end of the romance chain here. You will be able to scrump him again, which is a fade to black scene at the party. I don't know if it will trigger a second time, but the sex part isn't actually important. After this point, after the scrumping part, it is mainly just keeping his approval up. And basically, if you just break him away a lot of times, then he's not going to disapprove enough for it to matter in Act 2. I've always kept him in my party. I always forget which interactions are going to cause him to not want, or to be disapproving of. And he still loves me by Act 2. And I was able to even get the other scene without triggering it by going to Moonrise and talking to the Blood Drow.
Remembering our time together, the things we've shared. And I don't just mean that lovely neck of yours.
So the important part of this one is to just say yes. You're going to get a lot of approval through the sex scene. And I am going to have to cut those parts because I'm not allowed to show it on YouTube. So...
See you there.
So basically,
Lava.
you just tell him yes, and then you're going to do a couple of partial rests. I immediately just did a partial rest.
So, Will did the right thing,
And since
it
we
earned
just
him
got
a set of
Karlach,
horns.
he gets this dialogue.
Let that be a lesson
and
to
we
us
talk
all.
to Mizora.
quiet evening for
And then
once.
after this partial rest, we're going to go ahead and have the scrump scene. Now, the way to get more Astarion approval, aside from saying yes to him, is to tell him that you don't have you that he doesn't have you yet, to open up this other dialogue option. I basically just like to talk to him and try to make sure that he knows that he has agency here. Once he has you up against the tree, you're going to roll playfully and let him bite you. That's some more approval. And that's it. You have successfully romanced Astarion Ekonen in Act 1. Again, once you get to either the tiefling or the goblin party, you'll get another chance to scrump him again. It's not really that important. The important thing is to just keep his approval up. And there is a ton of options to get more Astarion approval. Astarion has one of the most interactions out of any of the other origin characters or the romanceable characters, and his disapprovals are generally just -1, whereas his approvals are 2 or more. So you have more interactions, more opportunities to have higher approval than you do disapproval. The thing that people make the mistake of is mainly letting him feed off of you for longer than you should. And in that first scene where he reveals himself to be a vampire, the other thing that people mess up on is they don't talk to him enough, they don't open up enough dialogue, and they are not understanding enough of his reasonings for things. Like, if you think that he's just evil, you're not going to get enough approval. If you think that if taking the good option is not going to be worth it, then you're not going to get enough opportunity to get approval with him, because he's not necessarily an evil person. He is true neutral, and he is out for himself. He likes to be a little sadistic. He likes, when you think of him, he likes when you give him options, and he likes when you are confident and you will protect him, because his number one thing is he wants to be safe. He wants to kill Cazador, and he wants to live. That is literally his big motivation, and that's why he is obsessed with power options. So it's not necessarily wanting to keep the tadpole, but the tadpole is what gives him the opportunity to fight Cazador and to possibly win in that fight. So to get Astarion approval, all you have to do is talk to him a lot, do plenty of rest, and make sure that you trigger the fights so that you can get him to drink from you, because that's a ton of approval. When you get to Gadriel, you don't necessarily have to kill Gadriel, the Gur Hunter in the swamp. You don't have to kill him, but it is approval if you do let him kill Gadriel. And the other things for approval are like getting the blessing for Leviatar, and then there's a couple other instances in the Goblin Camp. So again, you just need to do the rest, talk to him, open up those dialogue options, and then you won't have any issues in Act 2 in getting him to admit his feelings for you. The important part is getting through Act 1 with the romance part so that you can unlock his romance section in Act 2. If you do not get to his first love scene, then you will not be able to romance him in Act 2. That's why this is the important part. So yeah, just keep in mind, his disapproval doesn't mean that much. It's literally just a -1 every time. Unless you do things that hurt him. If you do things that will cause him harm, that will be literally the worst for him, then it's more. but those are not very, there's not very many opportunities to do that to him. You could basically sell him out to the Gur, but that also just means his death. So you have a lot more to worry about than just his disapproval at that point. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please hit that like button. Thank you very much. And don't forget to share for anybody who needs help romancing Astarion. And I hope this was very helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, please lay them on me. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll catch you in the next video. Later.